Saudi military man making secret overtures to Israel. In June, retired Major General Anwar Eshki, a close advisor to the Saudi royal family, shared a platform with Benjamin Netanyahu's top diplomat, and the two men outlined their common opposition to Iran. So is this the start of a new anti-Iranian alliance? And are Palestinians being thrown under the bus in the process? Joining me in the arena from Jeddah is General Eshki himself, the chair of the Middle East Center for Strategic and Legal Studies. I'm also joined here in the studio by Rula Jibril, foreign policy analyst, journalist, and author of the acclaimed novel Miral, which offers a unique portrait of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Thank you both for joining me on Up Front. General Eshki, is it fair to say that such is the Saudi opposition to Iran that your country is now willing to bury the hatchet, is willing to do a deal with Israel against Iran? My enemy's enemy is my friend.
This is not accurate from me because Saudi Arabia against the regime of Iran, and Saudi Arabia different point of view from Israel. Israel worried about the atomic bomb, but Saudi Arabia worried about Iran to interfere and to destabilize the area in Arab countries. For that reason, there is different point of view between us and Israel.
But what do you want the relationship between Saudi Arabia and Israel to be? What do you want it to be like?
Saudi Arabia want Israel announce that they accepting the Arab initiative. Then we can discuss with Israel, maybe Palestinian discuss with Israel, and Saudi Arabia support that. We don't like Israel become isolated in the area. We don't like Israel become fighting the Palestinian and Palestinian fighting them, and we are fighting them. We have to cooperate together. This is my idea about that.
Rula Jibril, he says he wants peace with Israel. He wants them to accept the Saudi peace plan of 2002, and he's worried about Iran destabilizing the region. So he's talking to Israeli people, Israeli officials. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. Actually, it's great that now the Saudis are trying to talk, except that the Saudis don't understand two things. One is Iran has a role in destabilizing the region, but they have a bigger role in destabilizing the region. Look what we are seeing.
Who has a bigger role in?
Saudi Arabia. Look at their interference. They are financing terrorists and tyrant alike with one goal: to export their Wahhabi, exclusionary, puritanical sect of Islam. And everybody else has to be killed, whether they're Shia or Sunni moderates. Regarding the Palestinian issue, it's a smokescreen. The Israelis have spoken, General, and have spoken clearly. And in a democracy, and I know that you don't maybe understand how democracy works, it's very clear. When people vote for a government and decided
for the
Netanyahu government, and the Israeli voted for that government doesn't want any peace initiative, not the American one, let alone the Saudi one.
Let General Eshki respond.
We in Saudi Arabia did not support the radicals. We are against the radicals.
General Eshki, you have to explain to the people why ISIS in their capital Raqqa have Saudi textbooks, because you have more in common with ISIS than any other group in the area.
Rula, let me ask you a question. A recent poll showed that 52% of Saudis say they see Iran as the biggest threat to Saudi Arabia, and only 18% say they see Israel as a threat. What would you say to those who say that General Eshki, when he reaches out to Israel against Iran, he's simply reflecting Saudi public opinion? He's doing what his people want.
But this is what Saudi have been trying to do since the beginning of their establishment, that their form of Islam is the only legitimate path to God. What the polls are reflecting that kind of ideology and that kind of mentality. It's not far away from what ISIS is doing.
Okay, let me bring the subject back to what we were discussing. Saudi Arabia has constantly said it's a champion of the Palestinians over the years. How do you think Palestinians feel when they hear you refer to Benjamin Netanyahu as a strong leader and a logical leader, you called him?
I told about him a strong leader and logical leader because that means not strong against Arabs, but I said he is strong in his country. He can announce about that, because the fanatics in Israel the radical in Israel, when they accept the initiative, all the Israeli will accept that.
Let's let the smokescreen aside. You are actually dialoguing with a right-wing government who's oppressing Palestinian peoples, negating them any kind of rights, that is actually very vocal about annexing the whole land. General, what you are doing is actually selling out the Arab cause, the Palestinian cause, in the name of one thing, Wahhabism and anti-Shiite sentiment.
The Saudi, you know, we didn't make difference between Shia and Sunnah. I am living with Shia and Sunnah in Medina. No any problem with that. But Iran tried to use that to make separate for between Shia and Sunnah.
A lot of Palestinians say that Saudi Arabia is willing to bomb Yemen for 6 months, the poorest country in the Middle East. But when Israel is bombarding Gaza, there's no Saudi Air Force in sight. There are no Saudi troops ever coming to the rescue of Palestinians in Gaza. What do you say to them?
Yeah, not Saudi Arabia only. We are not bombing the people. We are bombing the
but you're taking military action in
weapons,
Yemen.
The rockets and like that.
Well, actually, you've actually bombed lots of dairy factories and power stations. But deal with the bigger point that you're willing to take military action in Yemen, but you never take any kind of steps to physically protect the Palestinians in Gaza when they're being bombed. That's what a lot of Palestinians say.
The difference, I told the Iranian about that. I told him, you support the Palestinian by weapons, but we support the Palestinian with the money. When we support the Palestinian with money, we want them to live, to live good. And you
under
give
occupation,
him weapons
General, under
to destroy
occupation,
themselves.
You're not challenging Israel on the two major issues that are relevant to the Palestinian. It's the occupation of the West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem, and on the segregations of almost 1.5 million Palestinians inside Israel. You not only betray the Palestinians or even the Israelis, who I hope are not delusional to rely on you, you're betraying the whole Arab Muslim cause.
General, we've got to finish. I want to ask you one last question. Given you've become known for this initiative of yours and this outreach, how long do you think it is? How many years do you think it will be till we see a Saudi embassy in Tel Aviv?
You can ask Mr. Netanyahu if he announced about that he accept the initiative. After that, and give all the rights of Palestinian, Saudi Arabia will start to make embassy in Tel Aviv.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you both for joining me in the arena. That's our show. Up Front will be back next week.